Good morning. Let me see if I have that set. There we go. And there's Frankie. Hi, baby. He just pays attention. He always looks so serious. Well, good morning. So what I wanted to talk about today, give it some thought, is fight, flight, or freeze. Fight, flight, or freeze, right? Well, there's also fawn. With that behavior, I see it as ways where, take a sip with me. When we fawn, it's taking on the behavior that we think the person confronting us wants us to take. So, of course, if we think that person, we would get our way, we would get freedom, we would get some power, then we might flirt, or subconsciously, right? We might even, my skin loves moisture. Yay. Excuse me. So if I have been trained at a young age to respond to my parents' or caretakers' anger, I know how I'm supposed to respond, right? So if my mother said, you only speak when you're spoken to, and I'm like, okay. But if I'm like, how does that make sense? How do I ask for what I need? Whap! How dare you talk back to me? See? So I'm taught at an early age that having a question, a legitimate, reasonable question, isn't appropriate. So when you get in grade school or high school or whatever, in those adolescent years, and somebody bullies you, subconsciously, we know that the appropriate response is to cower or else. Now, I'm not saying stand up to a bully and get beat up or hurt. I'm just saying it's a natural response. So that means when it comes time later in life to be able to find our voice, whether it's because we have a job that requires us to participate, or a relationship where a person's trying to get to know us and we're not able to open up, our brain is saying, if I speak up, I'll be punished. Does that make sense? It also means then that without thinking, then. So the thinking is on the surface. So something happens and there's only one way to respond. Or maybe you have plan A, B, and C. But there's no room for analyzing the situation at hand in a mathematical way, to treat this as a unique situation, because you're not the same person you were yesterday. What if you changed your mind? Period, right? I put on a little too much moisturizer, maybe, so the makeup was kind of floating. That cracked me up. Too funny. So if we are actually living an authentic life, meaning we're actually living the moments instead of repeating. I'm gonna put him in the frame. Hi Frankie. Instead of repeating the same scenarios over and over again, right? It takes more energy and it takes more risk. So if you're kind of living Groundhog Day with your emotions and wonder why you feel the same way all the time, it might be because you really are. Without knowing it, you're fawning. You're having the same reactions that you think you're supposed to have over and over. Well, you can think about it. So if you were going to be genuine in the situation you're in right now and not just give the automatic response, and you'll know it's an automatic response because there's usually energy behind it that feels almost like a push or a boomerang, or just, it's quick. When it's something we know, it's quick. If it's something we have to think about, there's a pause. Yeah, try that. Try that. That's good awareness to have right there. Yeah, isn't that right? So try that. So if I'm in a situation where a bully at school is picking on me, excuse me, and I'm not falling for the same automatic response that I'm supposed to have with my parents, then, sorry, my allergies are always bad in the morning. Oh, what? You're so cute. Then when the bully says something, I'm able to say, what do you mean by that? Or I'm not going to interact with this kind of behavior, or whatever best fits the level of safety. Sometimes we do have to respond in a way that we don't normally want to, simply to avoid death, right? But we're doing it consciously. There's a difference between reacting in a very depressed victim stance or making a conscious decision to allow certain things happen to avoid further danger. That's a big deal. It's a difference between feeling like a victim. I'm applying a little bit too much pressure here, so I'm going to have to do some cleanup. Hey, no. Does that make sense? So if I'm in a terrible situation and I go along with what's happening to be able to save my life or someone else's, or to keep myself from getting further bullied in a more dangerous level, then that's me making a conscious decision. If I go along with it or feel humiliated because I didn't fight an unwinnable battle, then I'm living from a level of fawn. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's funny because there's, oh shoot, I knew I'm gonna run out of time. Anyway, give that some thought. And write down what you think if you've been in a situation like that. I know that it can be pretty tricky. So if you take a breath, if you're anxious, take a breath and ask yourself, what do I really want to do right now? That way, you don't have to all right, I'm going to add a little color here. How about that? Just calm, just practice the breathing exercises. Practice the breathing exercises and then ask yourself, what do you really want to say? What, right? So now we're talking about real life, like with your partner, with your spouse, with your sister, brother in older age. So now it's, if you take a breath, what is it that you really want to say? God, wouldn't it be a shame to go through life and not ever saying anything that you really want or need to say to better your life? Frankie, I'm gonna put him to work here in a minute. We're gonna go into the office. Anyway, I hope all this makes sense. I was thinking about this today because I know that when someone gets mad or they're trying to control, one of the things they do is they will push your buttons until they see you react the way they want to see you react. Like, I know what kind of reaction I want out of you, and I'm going to push your buttons till I get it. And just like some mean parents, you know, they'll push their kids until they make them cry, because then they feel comfortable or more powerful. And there are some partners who are abusive as well, who they will push you until they see you cower, so they feel more powerful, or you give in on whatever it is that they want. So that's why I'm telling you, if you're not genuinely going along because you want to, or because you're afraid, I'm not saying to behave differently and put yourself in danger, but what I am saying is, how about being honest with yourself on the inside? It's okay to pretend or even try to talk yourself into something through positive law of attraction. But it's not very healthy to completely deny your own mental health state of affairs. Self-honesty is sometimes the first step to sanity. All right, I'm going to work. Thanks for listening and letting me vent. And cheers.